Он, короче, стучится на дверь, всю ломает нафиг. Он уже несколько минут...
These are some of the most unsettling clips ever recorded. I've searched through countless videos to bring you only the most intense moments, so viewer discretion is advised. Let's start with this first terrifying encounter. On February 17th, 2021, a young girl named Felicia Kashuk posted a video to her TikTok profile. She was 14 years old. Her account usually featured playful, lighthearted clips, exactly what you'd expect from a child her age. But that day, something was different.
Это у меня сейчас жесть история. У нас там сосед, он пьяный. Он, короче, стучится на дверь, всю ломает нафиг. Он уже несколько минут здесь стоит, стучится, орёт, матерится. Я просто мне страшно.
The video wasn't funny. It wasn't staged. It was a cry for help. Felicia was home with her youngest brother. Their father had just stepped out to visit the local shops. Shortly after he left, someone began knocking on the door. At first, Felicia ignored it, but the knocks kept coming. Louder, more persistent, more aggressive. The person at the door was their neighbor. Feeling unsafe, Felicia didn't open the door. Instead, she did the one thing she could think of. She pulled out her phone and recorded a TikTok, hoping that if anything went wrong, someone might see it, and maybe even help. She mentioned that the knocking had continued for over an hour, and yet, no one came to check. There were maintenance workers nearby, working on the house, but they later said they didn't think it was their place to interfere. Felicia never approached them either. Maybe she was too afraid to leave the front door. Eventually, the knocking stopped, and for a moment, it seemed like the worst might be over. Then a message popped up on her phone from a friend asking if she wanted to go to the park. Felicia quickly said yes. She was relieved at the thought of being around someone, anyone. She waited near the door, counting down the moments until her friend would arrive. That's when her father came home. He walked through the door unaware of the events that had just unfolded. Then, another knock came. It was soft this time, almost calm. Thinking it was her friend, Felicia answered. But it wasn't her friend. It was the neighbor. Before she had time to react, he pulled out a gun and opened fire. Felicia was shot multiple times at point-blank range. Her father screamed for help, begging the nearby maintenance worker to call emergency services. He cradled his daughter in his arms, desperate to stop the bleeding. But it was too late. Felicia looked up at him, and with what little strength she had left, she whispered, "Dad, I have been killed." She died moments later.
Вот она дырка, через которую пришла смерть к моей дочери. Вот так вот вышел из своей квартиры с рулем, подошел, постучался потихонечку, как стучатся дети, когда приходят доченьки. Доча думала подружка.
The shooter was identified as 33-year-old Vasil Denet. According to Felicia's father, the two families had previously been on good terms. But in recent weeks, tensions had been rising, mostly due to noise complaints. It's believed that this was the motive behind the attack, and perhaps the most chilling detail of all. Felicia's final TikTok, her last documented moment alive, was posted just 15 minutes before the shooting. Of all the stories in this list, Inquisitors might be the most haunting. Not because of an accident, not because of a conflict, but because it shows how even the kindest hearts can be destroyed by whispers, lies, and the weight of public opinion. Inquisitor was a well-known TikToker who found fame cosplaying as Ghost, the silent, stoic soldier from the Call of Duty franchise. But where the video game character was cold and brooding, Inquisitor brought something different to the mask. He brought warmth.
Why are you so splendid?
Behind every post was a man who radiated joy. He joked. He encouraged. He made people feel seen. His followers grew not because of controversy or shock value, but because of something far more rare in today's digital world: genuine kindness. But with that kindness came attention, and with attention came danger. As his channel grew, Inquisitor brought on a young female editor to help him keep up with the demand for content. In his typical way, he praised her work with enthusiasm. He'd often say things like, "I love her edits," or "I want to marry this style." To his longtime followers, this wasn't unusual. It was just Inquisitor being Inquisitor, friendly, expressive, upbeat. But to outsiders, those phrases, especially when taken out of context, could look very different. And someone was watching. A TikToker known as Tito Is Acting Badly, with nearly 1 million followers, released a statement accusing Inquisitor of grooming his own editor. The girl was 17 at the time. The accusations were built on out-of-context screenshots and suggestive phrasing. There was no evidence of predatory behavior. But that didn't matter. The internet turned on Inquisitor overnight. The once-loved figure behind the mask was now labeled a monster. His fans vanished, his uploads stopped, and the man who had once been a beacon of positivity began to disappear in silence. On October 9, 2023, weeks after the rumors began, Inquisitor changed his TikTok bio to a chilling message: "I want to die." A few hours later, he went live. The screen showed nothing but a quiet room with a glass door. Then, crashing sounds, rocks smashing through the windows. His family had broken in. Viewers watched in horror as the stream continued, until someone entered the frame, performing CPR on a body just out of view. At that moment, it became clear: Inquisitor had taken his own life. In the days that followed, the truth began to surface. Private messages were leaked, not just between Inquisitor and his editor, but between Tito and the editor as well. The evidence revealed a devastating reality. Inquisitor had been set up. The editor had pursued him romantically, lying about her age and intentions. He had declined her, repeatedly and respectfully, asking her to stop. And Tito? He had been working with her to build a false case, carefully crafting a narrative to ruin Inquisitor's reputation. And they succeeded, just not in the way they'd planned. The lies were exposed, but far too late. Inquisitor was gone. To those who knew him, through his content or his kindness, he wasn't the predator they claimed. He was a voice of support, a source of joy, a light-hearted soul in a harsh online world. His story is a reminder that good people can be broken by bad intentions, that not every accusation is truth, and that sometimes, by the time the truth arrives, the damage is already done. On April 4th, 2020, 24-year-old Ernest Wilson went live on Facebook during a house party in Baltimore, Maryland, unaware that these would be the final moments of his life. Ernest was a warehouse worker who loved to party, play games, and turn every night into a good time. But when the pandemic hit and lockdown shut down the venues he frequented, Ernest came up with an idea to keep the fun going. He started renting Airbnbs and throwing invite-only game nights, charging a small entry fee to cover costs. At first, the gatherings were small, but word spread quickly and the crowds grew. On April 3rd, Ernest posted on Facebook again, asking, "Should I do game nights again this weekend?" He followed up with, We playing hide and seek at game night tonight. Girls could get in free and guys paid $5, but he was clear about one thing. Please don't show up with nobody I didn't personally invite. They're going to get left outside. At the time, it just seemed like a precaution. But looking back now, those words hit differently. That night, the party went off just as planned. Dancing, drinks, and laughter. But things took a dark turn around 2:30 a.m. when the group decided to play hide and seek. Ernest volunteered to be the first seeker and began his countdown in the Airbnb's backyard.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But as he started to search, the unexpected happened.
1, 2, 3. Who the is that, G?
I don't know.
Get your on the other side of this gate. Who the this can't be one of my friends.
He saw someone hopping the fence, trying to break into the property. Now, the safest choice would have been to head back inside and call the cops. But Ernest, under the influence and likely wanting to protect his friends, made a fatal decision. He confronted the intruder himself. Moments later, a struggle broke out, and the intruder pulled a gun.
Hey, Pard!
Ernest was shot, and everything was still being broadcast live on Facebook. Police arrived at 2:45 a.m. and found Ernest lying in a pool of blood. It was initially ruled a robbery gone wrong, but others believe it wasn't random at all. During the chaos, a disturbing detail emerges.
Hey, Pard!
A girl can be heard laughing in the background. Some viewers believe she wasn't just a guest, but an accomplice. According to online speculation, the girl may have directed the intruder to hop the fence when he couldn't get in through the locked door. One user even wrote, "That girl tried to let someone in the front. Once she saw it was locked, she told them to hop the fence. I'd start with her boyfriend." But tragically, no suspect has ever been arrested. Ernest's case remains unsolved 5 years later. Whether it was a robbery, a setup, or something more personal, we may never know. In the snowy rural landscape of Harney County, Oregon, a confrontation unfolded that would end in tragedy and stir national debate. It was January 2016 when Robert Lavoy Finicum, a 54-year-old rancher, was pulled over by law enforcement. He was traveling with several of his family members. According to authorities, their vehicle was being driven across federally protected land without permission. Police ordered Robert out of the vehicle. But Robert, a staunch anti-government activist, refused. He calmly told officers that he wasn't doing anything wrong, and that he planned to drive to the local sheriff's office to resolve the situation peacefully. After several minutes of tense back and forth, Robert made a choice. He hit the gas and drove away. But the escape wouldn't last long. His vehicle became stuck in a snowbank just up the road. Realizing he had no way forward, Robert jumped out of the car, hands briefly raised, before stepping away into the snow.
I'm not going anywhere. Here I am, right there. Right there, put a through it. You understand? I'm going to go meet the sheriff. You back down or you me now. Go ahead, put the through me. I don't care.
Where's Ryan?
I'm going to go meet the sheriff. You do as you damn well please.
What for?
Well, I'm going to ask them if they want to go out.
What for? Why are we getting
You want out?
What for? What are we getting
Who
out?
are you? Yeah, who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Oregon State Police.
Okay, well, I'm going over to meet the sheriff in Grand County. You can come along with us, and you can talk with us over there. You can go ahead and me. Put the laser right there, put the through the head. Okay, boys? This is going to get real. You want my in your hands? Get it done, because we got people to see and places to go. No, I don't. You need to back off. You need to back off.
Where in the heck is Ammon?
You shouldn't have ever stopped.
Did Ammon?
You're wasting oxygen, son. You want a bath? It's going to be on your hand. We're going to go see the sheriff. I'm going to be laying down here on the ground with my blood on the street, or I'm going to go see the sheriff.
Why
did they pull you over?
There's no service here.
Just because.
Okay, you ready?
Well, where's those where's the guns?
They got him stopped. He can't get around. I'm going to go. You guys ready?
Okay, get down.
Then you duck
Get
down.
down.
Give me that camera. Okay, give me this camera. Go. Got it. Got it. Keep going. Well, I got numbers, but I can't call because we have no service.
Okay.
No, mobile network not available.
Do you have numbers for people here in town?
Yeah, but
Hang on.
Okay, there's
Hang on.
okay, sit down. Okay, we're here.
Go ahead and shoot me.
Damn! Trying to. Stay down, stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Damn it. Are they him? Did I him? You asshole. Oh my god! Okay. Stay down.
Is he dead?
Don't get out.
Moments later, shots rang out. Robert Finicum was hit multiple times. He died on the scene. According to the FBI, Robert was reaching into his jacket where a loaded handgun was later found. Officers claimed they feared for their lives and responded with lethal force. The other passengers in the car, including Robert's wife Shauna, were arrested, but later released. In the days that followed, the public reaction was deeply divided. To some, Robert Finicum was a hero who died standing up for his beliefs. To others, he was a man who refused lawful orders and made a fatal choice. On the morning of February 22, 2019, in Dallas, Texas, 12-year-old Linda Rogers was doing something many kids her age enjoy: filming a vlog. She was getting ready for a cheerleading competition, excited and full of energy, documenting her morning like she had done so many times before. But Linda would never make it to the event.
Guys, it is 6:02 a.m. Friday, February 22nd, and I'm gonna get ready for the NCA, National Cheerleaders Association, today. So I'm gonna start with here, turn on my lamp because I don't want to turn on all of the lights. So I went ahead and connected my straightener, and I still have to connect the curling iron. And I already got halfway started doing the braid, and all what's left to do is ponytail, straighten it, curl it, poof it, whatever. So yeah.
In the middle of her recording, a sudden explosion tore through the house. A gas pipeline, cracked and leaking behind the home, had ignited. The blast was captured on camera, right in the middle of her video. Out of the 5 people inside the house at the time, Linda was the only one killed. The home was completely destroyed. Her life was cut short in an instant, her final moments captured not just by accident, but by her own camera, during a moment of pure, everyday joy. Following the tragedy, the investigation pointed to the utility company Adams Gas and Energy, who were allegedly responsible for the faulty pipeline. The family reached a wrongful death settlement, though no amount of money could undo what had happened. Linda's death wasn't just sudden, it was deeply unfair. She was a young girl with dreams, joy, and a growing passion for creating. And in one devastating instant, all of that was gone. In this disturbing footage, we see an arrogant Russian streamer who thought it was acceptable to treat another human being with absolute cruelty.
What the I mean, I like bikers, man, but go slower when you pass some walkers, man. Almost killed myself right here, piece. He's still reading it like mother. Hello? Hello? Hey? Ne, model, si u redu? A? Model, kaj me zdaj naredim? A ne boš mogel vas, a? A moram rešilce poklicati? Ja, pizd, kako pa naj naredimo? A roko lahko? A si nogo razbal? A ne moraš sam premakniti, a? Fuck, kako naj rešilco, ti mami pokličem.
The streamer had encountered a young man, a biker, who was clearly injured, but instead of helping, he immediately jumped to conclusions. He accused the man of being a criminal and refused to call for help. Why? Because the biker reportedly begged him not to involve the authorities. Most likely, the boy simply didn't have a valid license, a mistake that, in Russia, can cost a small fortune. But rather than show any compassion, the streamer chose to take advantage of his vulnerable state.
Kako naj te zdaj gor spravim? Ne moreš, a? Ja, dej. Kaj pa, če grem jaz po tvoja mami? A mi boš dal svoj telefon? Zanimam ga, lahko ti pa povem kaj. Ok, dej. Ja, sam niti jaz ne vem dober, kje sem, veš. A si koliko si pa daleč od doma? Ma nisem, sem tam dal za ovinkom. Se je te prva bajta. Iz te strani, ki si pršel? Ja. Dober, dej, ajde. S tem, ki si pršel, a ne? I got new bike. God damn. Feels pretty nice. I'm bloody of it, man. The DNK, they're gonna find the DNK, man. Man, there is no help to see, man. I think he said he doesn't feel his legs, so he won't need the bike anymore.
And as if that wasn't heartless enough, he went so far as to steal the young man's gloves, leaving him wounded and alone in the middle of nowhere, exposed to the elements and unable to protect his hands.
Bi me ful v roke, bi mi dal ti še rukavice, prav. Dej, saj zdaj jih ne rabiš več, a ne? Evo. Malo so krvave, stari. Pizda si se mogel po rani šlatat. No, dej, grem zdaj jaz po tvoja matka, prav. Si pa mislil, Ej! What the Man disappeared. What the Ja, ej, a si drugač tanko motor? A? Dej pa še govorit ne moreš več, ali kva? Ja, dej. Jaz moram iti, no, mami me je klicala, da je večerja. Tako da se vidim, da boš lahko. Glavnem, uživaj. Živ.
It's shocking to see such cold-blooded behavior, the kind that makes you question how far some people will go for attention or power. Thankfully, this wasn't the end for the biker. According to reports, a group of hikers eventually found him and rushed him to a nearby hospital. As for the streamer, my research shows he was prosecuted for his actions, facing heavy backlash not only from viewers, but from Russian authorities as well. In December of 2021, a man named Ray J. Sharif Black began a Facebook live stream. At first glance, there wasn't anything particularly unusual about it. He was standing outside a house in Baltimore, calmly speaking into the camera. His tone was casual, almost too casual, given what he was saying. Ray was a certified nurse anesthetist. From the outside, his life may have seemed stable, even respectable. But over the past few years, things had begun to unravel. His divorce from his ex-wife, Wendy Black, had grown bitter, and he claimed she was preventing him from seeing his children. Wendy, in turn, had filed multiple protection orders, stating that she feared for her safety. All of them were denied by the courts. Eventually, Ray moved on and started a new relationship with a woman named Tara Labong. The two had children together, but by late 2021, that relationship too had collapsed. And now, standing outside with a phone in hand, Ray was live streaming his thoughts to whoever might be watching. For the first 50 seconds, it seemed like he just wanted to vent. He spoke about the custody battle, the accusations against him, the emotional toll it had taken. It felt like a moment of release, just a man speaking his truth. But then, the tone shifted. Ray began referencing a recent argument with Tara, and then, without warning, he said something that none of his viewers were prepared for.
You know, we got in a fight, first thing she does is threatening that she's going to do the same thing, you're never going to see your kids, blah, blah, blah. It's the holidays, man, I don't have no family, nothing. Anyway, I just did something crazy, man. I just my ex-girlfriend in the head, yo. Felt like a dream. Like, I never thought I would be that guy.
He had just killed her. Police rushed to Tara's home in South Baltimore. Inside, they found her lying on the floor. She'd been shot in the head. By the time they arrived, Ray was already at a second location, still streaming. That second location was outside Wendy Black's house. In the final minutes of the video, Ray looks into the camera and says, quote, "She next. Then I'm gonna do myself too."
I can't go to prison, so the person that really started my depression and all of this is my ex-wife. So she next, and then I'm going to do myself too. But I just wanted to say this to people. Don't play with people's emotions, man. Don't lie on these men. Oh, here's my ex-wife right here.
Wendy, who was pregnant at the time, can briefly be seen peeking out through the front door as Ray begins walking toward her. The video abruptly cuts off as he forces his way inside. What happened next never made it to the live stream. Ray shot Wendy. Then, in an eerie display of calm, he picked up his two daughters, placed them in a car parked in the driveway, and walked back inside the house. Moments later, he ended his own life with a single gunshot. The Facebook video quickly circulated online. Viewers were struck not just by what Ray said, but by how he said it. His voice never wavered. There was no shouting, no sign of rage. Just a man calmly explaining the worst thing he'd ever done. Ray had mentioned that he didn't want to spend the holidays alone. Because of his actions, his children now would. The Reno air races were known for speed, noise, and spectacle, a place where aviation history came alive just feet above the desert floor. For many fans, it was the closest thing to watching flight pushed to its absolute limits. But behind that excitement was a constant, unspoken understanding. This was a sport where there was very little room for error. One of the most familiar faces at Reno was Jimmy Leeward. He wasn't just a competitor. Jimmy was a veteran air racer, a Hollywood stunt pilot, and a respected figure in aviation circles. He had flown hundreds of aircraft and competed at Reno multiple times. Over the years, racing had become more than a hobby. It was part of who he was. One plane in particular meant everything to him, a modified P-51 Mustang known as the Galloping Ghost. Jimmy had raced it before, but as competition grew faster and more aggressive, simply showing up wasn't enough anymore. To stay competitive, he began making changes, not reckless ones in his mind, but gradual adjustments aimed at squeezing out more speed. Shorter wings to reduce drag, a streamlined body, weight shifted to improve performance. Each modification was meant to keep him in the race, and for a while, it worked. The Galloping Ghost quickly became one of the fastest aircraft on the course, but that speed came at a cost. Each modification made the plane more sensitive at extreme speeds, pushing key components beyond their original limits. Jimmy was an experienced pilot, not an engineer, and many of the changes relied on instinct rather than full analysis. More troubling was what went unchecked. Despite the extensive modifications, no thorough inspections were carried out. Critical parts went unexamined for years, and test flights were limited to low speeds, far below the conditions the aircraft would face in competition. By the time the 2011 Reno air races began, Jimmy had entered the Galloping Ghost once again. During qualifying, the plane exceeded 500 miles per hour, immediately drawing attention. To spectators, it was breathtaking. To the aircraft itself, it was overwhelming. On September 16th, thousands of people filled the grandstands as Jimmy entered the Gold Heat, flying among the fastest planes in the world. Mid-race, the strain on the airframe became visible. Parts of the aircraft began to warp under stress, though no one on the ground fully understood how close it was to failure. As Jimmy moved to pass another racer, turbulence triggered a catastrophic break. A weakened trim tab tore away from the aircraft. In an instant, the plane pitched violently upward, subjecting Jimmy to forces strong enough to knock him unconscious. With no pilot input, the Galloping Ghost flipped, spiraled, and plunged toward the crowd. And that was all captured on camera.
Oh my God!
I can't believe that.
My God!
Please stay where you are. We have emergency crews. Please stay where you are.
See, puppy.
Please stay where you are.
Fuck.
Okay? You okay? You all right? Yeah. Okay, folks, please stay where you are. We have emergency crews. Please stay where you are, folks. Please stay where you are.
Oh, crap! Oh, Jesus! God damn! Oh, Jesus!
The impact was devastating. Jimmy was killed instantly. Debris tore through the spectator area, leaving 11 people dead and dozens more injured. It was a moment that shocked not just aviation fans, but the entire country. Investigators later discovered just how fragile the aircraft had become. One critical component involved in the failure still carried paint from a 1980s repaint, evidence it hadn't been replaced in over 25 years. The findings pointed not to a single mistake, but to a chain of oversights: aggressive modifications, aging parts, missing inspections, and a system that allowed it all to go unnoticed. The aftermath forced air racing to change. Safety rules were tightened. Inspections became mandatory. Crowd distances increased. The sport continued, but under a very different set of expectations. What happened that day wasn't just a technical failure. It was the result of passion, ambition, and a desire to keep pushing forward until there was nowhere left to go. And for those watching from the stands, and those who never made it home, the cost was immeasurable.
An incident so horrific that it still haunts the minds of many. It all happened on October 31st, 2023. The streets of Tampa were buzzing with energy. People dressed in their favorite costumes paraded down the sidewalks, laughing and drinking. For most, it was just another Halloween night filled with harmless fun. But for some, this night would turn deadly. As the party raged on, a fight broke out in the middle of the street. What initially seemed like just another drunken brawl escalated when someone drew a gun.
I knew that was gonna happen, bro. Hey, he dead, bro.
Gunshots rang out and chaos erupted. People screamed and scattered in every direction. As you slow down the video, you can clearly see a man pull out his weapon and fire at a person wearing a red hoodie. The girl who recorded the video wasn't the only one who caught the shooting on camera. Bilal, a 23-year-old bystander, also captured the chilling moment on his phone.
Oh, they wallin'. They wallin'. They wallin'. Listen.
The sheer terror on people's faces as they desperately fled the gunfire was unmistakable. Sadly, not everyone made it out. 2 people were fatally shot, the man in the red hoodie and a bystander killed by a stray bullet, unable to escape the violence. 11 others were injured and rushed to the hospital, their lives forever changed by the night's events. This wasn't just another Halloween party gone wrong. It was a deadly confrontation that unfolded in real time, witnessed by thousands online. The tragic deaths and the 11 wounded left Tampa shaken, a stark reminder of how quickly a night of celebration can spiral into real horror.
This is 13-year-old Malachi Hemphill. In 2017, he went live on Instagram to impress his friends with a gun trick, but it ended in tragedy.
When I heard he died, I cried for 3 hours straight.
Malachi was born in 2003. That alone tells you just how young he really was. He was a happy, lighthearted teen with a million little passions.
You know, it was so much things that he knew how to do that he was good at, to where he didn't know what he wanted to do.
Like many teenagers today, Malachi was fascinated by social media. Some teens chase followers and internet fame, but not Malachi. For him, Snapchat and Instagram were just ways to make his friends laugh and stay connected when they weren't together. And his family? They were always part of the picture. He grew up with 2 loving parents, Shaniqua and Ernest, and a caring older sister. They wanted nothing more than to keep him safe. That included staying involved in his online life, keeping an eye on his accounts, making sure he wasn't talking to strangers, and teaching him about the dangers that come with the digital world. But nothing could have prepared them for what was about to happen. On Monday, April 10th, 2017, Shaniqua heard a loud noise coming from Malachi's room.
I heard a big boom. I couldn't tell if it was a gunshot or what. I just knew that it was something that was wrong.
Her daughter heard it too, and the 2 of them rushed upstairs. To their surprise, Malachi's door was locked. He never locked his door. Shaniqua yelled for him to open it, but he didn't respond. Something felt wrong, and what they discovered next would change everything.
Kicked in the door. We found him just laying there in a pool of blood. My daughter screamed and said, "Ma, turn his phone off." And as I proceeded to look at his phone, he was on Instagram Live.
Imagine seeing your son like that, and then learning that dozens of other kids watched it happen, live. At first, there was confusion. Why would Malachi do this? Was it a suicide? Or just a terrible accident? The Hemphill family didn't own any guns. They didn't glorify violence. There were no hunting trips, no shooting ranges. Their home was about peace and safety. That's what made it all so incomprehensible. While Shaniqua was still on the phone with emergency services, she looked outside and saw something shocking. Nearly 50 children had gathered in her yard. They'd seen the live stream. They wanted to know if Malachi was okay.
I guess these were the kids that were watching it on live that live in the area.
Paramedics arrived and rushed him to the hospital, but the news came just hours later. Malachi had died. He had accidentally shot himself in the head.
Nobody expects their son to accidentally shoot himself. To find your 13-year-old son on the floor with a gun to his head, that's something that you just never forget.
The community was in disbelief.
When I heard he died, I cried for 3 hours straight. He was everything. He was cool, chill, calm, all that.
You see your friend with a gun, tell a parent, because this is a situation that didn't have to go this far.
But for Shaniqua, one question mattered more than any other. Where did Malachi get the gun? The police launched an investigation. They spoke to his friends, his classmates, and it didn't take long to find out. A teenage friend had given Malachi the gun and encouraged him to go live with it.
Police have arrested a juvenile who they claim gave Malachi the weapon and charged him with numerous crimes. The person's name has not been released because they're a minor.
The boy was arrested. It offered some sense of closure, but not peace. Because how much control can a parent really have over their child's online life? The Hemphill family appeared on TV to share their story, hoping it could save other children.
In his bedroom playing with a gun on Instagram Live. Oh, that's what he was doing, trying to show it off. Look, I got this gun.
Malachi's godmother, Shantaria, made it clear. This wasn't suicide.
He did not kill himself. He loved life. He was just playing with a gun, and the gun went off.
According to police, Malachi was simply trying to load the clip. That's when the gun went off, right into his head. His parents urged others to be more aware of who their kids interact with, online and offline.
Monitor their phones, just monitor your children more now than anything.
Forest Park Police Major Chris Madsen echoed the warning at a press conference.
It can happen to the best parents that's best to their kids, to the best to their ability. It can happen to the best people, the best ones that love their kids.
This is a different era. Kids have access to the internet and social media like never before. Parents need to stay vigilant. One unexpected moment of kindness came just 5 days later. NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal heard about the tragedy and quietly offered to pay for Malachi's funeral. The family was overwhelmed. They hadn't been prepared to bury their son. Malachi had no insurance. They didn't have the means. But Shaquille stepped in. It was a blessing, Shantaria said. We just broke down and cried. Shaquille's words were simple. No mother should have to go through this. I just wanted to help. 3 days after Malachi's death, nearly 200 people gathered for a candlelight vigil. His middle school brought in grief counselors to support the devastated students. They had all just watched their friend die. On camera, Malachi's grandmother, Helen, said what many were thinking. Why did a 13-year-old have a gun in the first place? And another question, why didn't anyone watching the live stream act sooner? Why didn't someone tell an adult? Shaniqua later said in an interview, if you see your friend playing with a gun on live, don't ignore it. Say something. Tell someone. This could have been prevented, and that may be the saddest part. It could have been prevented.
Very.
This incident unfolded on October 28, 2019, on the upper slopes of Mount Fuji, where a live stream captured the final moments of a climb that would not be completed. The man behind the camera was Tetsu Shiohara, a 47-year-old who had spent years documenting fragments of his life online. His live streams were simple and unfiltered, often showing everyday routines, hospital visits, and long conversations with viewers. Over time, endurance sports and mountain climbing became recurring themes, with Mount Fuji appearing frequently during the official climbing season, where he successfully reached the summit multiple times while streaming live. In Japanese folklore, the mountain itself is often described as a living presence, watched over by Konohana Sakuya Haimi, a guardian figure said to both protect and warn those who climb Fuji without respect. Stories of strange sensations, sudden unease, or even voices telling climbers to turn back have circulated for generations. Outside of summer, Mount Fuji becomes far more dangerous. After mid-September, trails above the 5th station close. Snow turns to ice, winds intensify, and rescue operations become increasingly difficult. Even during open season, the mountain sees frequent rescues and yearly fatalities. In the off-season, only climbers with proper authorization and full winter equipment are permitted to attempt an ascent. In October 2019, during a live stream following a hospital visit, a viewer casually mentioned wanting to see Mount Fuji in winter. The comment was acknowledged lightly, with no clear plan announced, and most viewers assumed it would never happen. Weeks later, that assumption proved wrong. On the morning of October 28, Tetsu arrived at the 5th station and began live streaming once more. The Yoshida Trail was clearly marked as closed, warning signs were visible, and mountain huts were shut for the season. He continued anyway. His preparation was minimal. He wore light clothing unsuitable for freezing conditions and carried no winter climbing gear, no ice axe, no crampons, no helmet, no emergency supplies, and no headlamp. He brought no food, only a bottle of green tea. His phone and basic hiking poles were his only tools. As he climbed higher, conditions deteriorated. Snow covered the trail, markers disappeared, and the terrain steepened. He acknowledged missing essential equipment during the live stream, but continued upward. By early afternoon, he was alone above the clouds, navigating frozen ground with limited visibility and fading daylight. Near the upper slopes, the trail was buried beneath hard-packed snow. Winds strengthened, temperatures dropped, and the margin for error nearly vanished. Without an ice axe, even a minor slip could become uncontrollable. Despite this, the ascent continued. As he moved higher, the live stream picked up something unusual. Amid the sound of wind and movement, a faint voice seemed to cut through the audio. Replaying the footage later, it sounded like a warning. It seemed like a ghostly voice whispered a single word, "Oneid," which means "don't come." Could it have been the spirit of Sakuya Haim herself warning him? We will never know, but a few seconds later, it all went wrong. The phone struck the mountain, and the live stream abruptly cut off. Without an ice axe or the ability to stop himself, he slid down the slope for hundreds of meters. Viewers who had been watching live quickly contacted emergency services, but conditions made immediate rescue impossible. 2 days later, a body was discovered far below the trail. Identification was confirmed nearly 2 weeks afterward. The estimated fall distance exceeded 700 meters. The video sparked endless debate online, but the facts remain unchanged. A closed trail, worsening conditions, and a climb that continued despite every warning. What started as a challenge ended as a fatal miscalculation. Mount Fuji had once been familiar. That day, it was unforgiving. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.